Hey everyone. If you've been keeping up with the news lately, you know that the country is currently a fucking disaster. Surprise, surprise. There's been another mass shooting. You wake up, one of those happened. It's almost freaking what? The major ones are happening at least like twice every month. Shootings and horrible things happening daily. Yeah. Welcome to this wonderful, wonderful country. If you haven't heard, maybe you live outside of America, there has been two major shootings recently. One of them in El Paso, Texas, and one of them in Ohio. I forgot the exact town it took place in. So, horrible things committed by horrible people, but the results of letting boomers stay in power for the good part of, like, I don't know, 80 years? No, more, maybe 60? Maybe 80. I don't know. I'm not doing math right now. Maybe 80 years has resulted in something a little bit spicy recently. Multiple people in the Republican Party, mainly, even our own president and multiple corporations, have all pretty much lined up together to blame video games for the mass shooting like it's the frickin' 1990s. Jack Thompson's career is rolling in its grave. I'm the very first video on this channel, which I'll also put in the description, was a school project in which I presented very reliable evidence that disproved the entire argument that video games are the cause of violence. And it's a ridiculous claim to suggest in the first place. But many people have fallen for it because they don't do the research themselves. They don't have time. They have their idols on the TV and Fox News, and then they say that video games cause violence, and then they just accept that as like the gospel truth and don't think about it. Never Google research from actual researchers and not just people who basically see man on TV have gun, man in real life have gun. It's the same. Basically, if you need the just quick recap of what I said in that school project video, many people were claiming that video games were the cause of mass shootings, or they encouraged shootings and killings, when all research done by professionals have basically concluded the opposite result. And then I looked into the opposite argument that they do, and then when I looked into those research bits, they, instead of going through the proper channels, they worked backwards from the idea that they do, which does not ever yield reliable results. It's literally just saying, this is how I feel and I'm gonna pretend that everything supports it. Instead of going into a research topic good-natured and saying, this could go anywhere, and I want the research that I'm about to conduct supporting this. And so when they find out that it went to the side that said video games do not cause or encourage violence, they said, okay, we found that out reliably. And the other researchers just wanted to come to their own little conclusion. And like at the best, the ones that were reliably researched, like for their case, in the best quotes, they ended up saying like, no results, we'll have to look into it more. And then all the other piles and websites full of research have just disproven it completely. It started with multiple people on, well, it didn't really start, but like, it's been encouraged right after the shooting by multiple people on Fox News. Totally reliable source. That's a hard sarcasm. It started with multiple people on there claiming that video games were the cause of these mass shootings, that it was encouraging it, and it was doing horrible things, and basically these people were all saying stuff like this.
But the idea of these video games to dehumanize individuals, to have a game of shooting individuals and others, I've always felt that is a problem for future generations and others. We've watched from studies shown before of what it does to individuals. When you look at these photos of how it took place, you can see the actions within video games and others. But what I'd like to do is make sure just get all the facts where there are indications. And there's times before that we have found this, and there's times before that...
And it only takes a single Google search, not even through the research that I've mentioned before, but through the statistics of between the video game industry how many games are bought in one place versus the shootings in each country, which this graph points out, and it is corroborated by reliable sources, and you see them yourself. The thing is, however, that the boomers in power don't care. They don't care whether they're right or wrong. They just care that people who don't want to put a second's research or thought into something end up following them along. They just sit there and stroke the flames, and then people who like have no independent thought just cheer these people on because they can't do anything wrong. They're the big guys. They can't ever say anything stupid. The entire idea that the games are the cause of mass shootings is so discredited, and I don't even want to like go and make this video just a part 2 of that old video. I want to just address these people one by one making these claims. Okay. First off, and I don't want to be immature about this, but I'm really resisting the urge to call this man Kevin McCucky. You are claiming that you have cited studies. Which ones? Which studies? You can't just say, I've seen studies, and then not cite them. You're talking about this serious issue, you're just throwing around, oh yes, I've seen studies. Probably, maybe, totally. And second off, you talk about how video games desensitize people to violence. And sure, you can be a little queasy when you first play a video game like Doom and then you get used to it by the end. But, dude, I know damn well that if I saw a dude being chainsawed in half in Doom, I'd be totally fine with it. But if I saw that in real life, I would flip my shit. Wanna know why? Because I know for a fact that something is wrong. That shouldn't be happening to a man. Personally, I fall under the belief that most people should have, their torso connected to their legs. But, I don't know. Maybe somebody believes different somehow, but that's besides the point. The idea that these can completely desensitize a person is false. I know for a fact. I've been playing video games for basically all my life. And I know that even when I see people getting hurt a certain way that's like real and not animated and not in a movie and not in a video game, when I see that happening to a real person, I get queasy. I know, because that is a real person and not just an actor or an animation or a couple pixels on my screen. So the idea that the video games can desensitize someone completely to violence is completely ridiculous. Something else that bothers me about this too is like they talk about how it's a mental health issue. It is not. Every other country on the planet has people with mental health. And they aren't being shot up nearly at the same rate as we are. And yet, these people are claiming that it is a mental health issue because they want to scapegoat it from the real problem. Now, at first it sounds like a convincing argument. One man went crazy and he killed everyone, and we should talk about how it went into his mind and how it affected him mentally before he went on this and how we can prevent this. But it's just, when you really think about it, it is not true at all. There are so many other countries, Japan especially, that have all these video games, that have people with mental health issues, and yet they don't have these shootings. And of course that doesn't even begin to scrape into the stigmatization of the idea of someone with mental health issues being a danger and a menace to society or some shit like that. It's a completely disgusting idea, but, we're smart people. And the mental health people are scary. The hack job that is masquerading as our current president of the United States has also made a roughly the same claim that instead of blaming, our really shitty gun laws and, the manifesto that the killer carried himself, we should be blaming mental illness and these grisly video games. And I'm not going to just jump straight in depth into the same points I just made, but I think the fact that we have, again, it should just be said, the fact that we have all of the same stuff that these countries do, and yet we're the ones with the numerous public mass shootings, it means something. it really means that there is something wrong with us as a country. Not video games, not mental illness, us. And I think we can pinpoint just exactly what the problem is. And many of you might not like what I'm about to say. The killer in El Paso had a very, very disturbing manifesto with him, in which he encouraged the violence against Hispanic people, and he called them an invasion, a sickness that they needed to purge from this country. And so he traveled many hours just to get to El Paso because that's where he thought all the Hispanics would be at, and then he shot up the place. And yeah, that's horrible. But then you look deeply into why he did it, and you see that the same ideology that he's spitting, the same stuff that he is saying, it's reflecting a lot on the people in power and what they've been saying. They have encouraged the same tactics and ideology that this person has used in order to justify his murder. And it's not like it's like a casual little thing that's been taken too far by one person or a group of people. Like, of course, the reaction to when the people in power are going to be calling somebody in a group of people a sickness and an invasion, that the reaction to that is going to be a little violent from the supporters. And of course, when it gets to this level, instead of reflecting, hey, maybe the things I'm saying are, encouraging the wrong kind of people to take action, the wrong kind of people that will kill other people if it means encouraging their horrible views. Maybe I should slow my roll. Maybe I should reflect on what I've been saying, how I've been saying it, what I've been thinking. Instead of, doing a little self-reflection, they just go, this is not me. It's a video game. This is a mental illness, And because of this, we've seen many different corporations also try to chime in on the whole video game hysteria. We see Walmart pulling down quote-unquote violent representations in advertisement off their shelves because they're afraid that it's going to encourage another mass shooting. And I have no idea their thought process behind this. Like, somebody's gonna walk into a Walmart with a loaded AR-15 and just be like, where's all the violent advertisements? And then they just give up and leave. That's not gonna work. And not only they're paying nothing but just lip service, because they're still selling guns and ammunition. The thing that got these people killed, if they really gave a crap, they would be pulling those off the shelves too. But they don't. Because, wanna know why? It makes them money. Also the NRA. That makes them money too. I mean, the fact that the NRA has been lobbying against research being developed about gun crime and our crappy gun control system should only prove that we really need to look into this. But of course, no, NRA is just feeding the people in power millions and millions of dollars, so they kind of turn their little blind eye a different way. The power of money and politics, and why the two should never really meet, unless we were talking about, of course, the economy or something, but that's irrelevant. Anyways, let's move on to ESPN. ESPN was supposed to be filming a Apex Legends tournament for their esports segment, and they ended up pulling that after the shooting and delaying it out of quote-unquote respect for those victims. And they were going to delay the airing of the Apex Legends tournament. And what boggles me about this is that when it comes down to that, what are you going to do as ESPN when there's another mass shooting near the day that you delayed the Apex Legends tournament to? Are you going to delay it again? Are we not going to be able to see this legendary tournament until the year 2100, where everyone's dying and we're all burning alive, and then they're just like, you know what, let's air this for the fun of it, finally. What are you going to do when it comes to the next mass shooting that happens on that day? Because it is happening at a startlingly consistent rate now. And you can't just hope that it doesn't happen again. Maybe instead of claiming that you're respecting victims by airing a video game tournament later, maybe you should actually support the people who are working to, make the decisions that will help prevent the shootings. that would probably mean a lot more than just saying, we're gonna respect some victims today, push that video game tournament a little further away. But there is a startling difference between America, or countries like America versus countries like Japan, where Japan has the same people with mental health, a giant video game industry, but little mass shootings, whereas America has those same things, but they have plenty of mass shootings. And, I hate to break it to you, maybe the thing that America has is rampant racism encouraged by many people in power, plus shitty gun control, where people, despite having a rape list and a hit list, they can still walk in and buy a gun, and then they can walk over to the next town and shoot up a place, where people can, instead of owning just maybe a pistol and a shotgun to keep in home, in case if, you know, somebody breaks in with a weapon that they intend on using on someone, they can defend themselves. Instead, these places sell assault rifle, giant machine guns, and all sorts of crazy ass weaponry that no reasonable person needs to own in order to defend themselves. You don't need an AR-15 to stop a bad guy. And I see all these, like, Republican people talking about how, oh, if we take away these gun laws, what's gonna happen when there's a mass shooting and nobody can, you know, shoot the bad guy with the gun that they own? Well, currently there are those same laws put in place currently, and yet nobody's whipping out a pistol like they're freaking McCree from Overwatch and just high nooning the bastard that's shooting up people. Clearly no one's doing that right now. What makes you think they're gonna do it in the future? You think everyone's just a cowboy that they think they're gonna save the day? Freaking whip around their pistol right out of their holster, flip it around, twirl it a few times, and then cock it. Bang, there goes the shooter. This man saved the day. Yeehaw, cowboy. No, that's not gonna happen. Because we shouldn't have to live in a society where every paranoid person needs to hold a gun before somebody loses it and ends up murdering a bunch of different people in the streets. No, we should have actual gun control laws that mean something, beyond just paying lip service and pretending that we have our freedoms. The NRA sucks the dick of the Second Amendment, and yet they fail to recognize that the Second Amendment wanted controlled gun laws, not just everyone can own whatever kind of gun they want. And even back then, when the Second Amendment was established, these people didn't even know what a machine gun was. They couldn't even comprehend that thought. They couldn't comprehend what a rocket launcher was. They couldn't comprehend grenades. They couldn't comprehend 50 cal bullets. You can't expect that those same laws to hold up to today's standards of how the country has changed. Not everything just stays stagnant. One of the things that really gets to me about this entire subject is that there are problems within the video game industry that should be addressed, like the hugely toxic, racist, and legitimately misogynistic communities that flourish in many games because their communities go completely unchecked, or the idea of huge AAA developers encourage gambling through paid loot boxes of any kind, cosmetic or not cosmetic. I personally fall into the belief that the only cosmetic rule or thing is complete horseshit, but that's besides the point. There are actual problems worth addressing in the video game industry, but games causing violence? It's not one of them. Anyways, I did this entire video without a script, and I'm tired. I'm going to college in like 8 days. Hopefully I'm not shot up in a school shooting. I don't know, maybe somebody will find my YouTube channel after that and be like, whoa, this guy said things, and I don't know, maybe I'll make it on the news, but I'd rather, not get shot, so hopefully that's all chill. Thank you guys for watching this ramble, and, consider the things I've said, or don't, and perpetuate the problem, and, I'll see you guys in a real video. I might make a voice reel for voice acting, so if you need any voice work done, just hit me up, and I'll get you ASAP. Anyways, have a good one.